All right, well, why don't we go ahead? I've just started a recording. So hi, everyone. Thanks so much for coming. My name is Kathleen Johnson. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Earth System Science, and I'm the principal investigator on this new project, which is funded by the National Science Foundation. So the project is the UCI Climate Justice Initiative, with climate standing for a cultural, learning, and institutional model to accelerate transformations for environmental justice. It's quite a mouthful. But yeah, I'm together on this project. I have 4 co-PIs, Steve Allison, Elizabeth Crook, Bennis Ego, and Kim Fortune, some of whom are here today as well. And also we're working really closely with the UCI Research Justice Shop, especially with Connie McGuire, who is also here today. So probably those of us who are on the leadership team will be chiming in to answer questions at the end. But first, I'm going to provide an overview of the project and what these fellowships are going to look like, what the requirements will be, what some of the timeline is, et cetera. And then we'll have time for questions. I also want to point out that this project is very much a collaboration with our community partner organizations, which are all organizations based in Orange County, the Green Madison Park Neighborhood Association, Orange County Environmental Justice, the Sacred Places Institute for Indigenous Peoples, and Crystal Cove Conservancy. Okay, so just to give a bit of an overview about the project, our motivations, and kind of the vision for what we want to see this project look like. So we're aiming to actually, one of the overarching goals is to bring environmental justice and sustainability more into the center of climate research and education here at UCI, and hopefully more broadly. This program is actually funded by a geoscience program. So it is funded by a program called Cultural Transformation of the Geoscience Community. And the transformation we want to see is for environmental justice and issues to be more central in the science that we're doing, which is why, partly why this program is also open to people from any disciplines, because part of this requires building capacity for cross-disciplinary collaborations. And so while it will fund definitely some geoscience fellows, we are welcoming applications from any other field with relevance to climate change and environmental justice. So the core parts of the program are the fellowship programs, which will be both the PhD student fellowships and the Postbaccalaureate fellowships, and community engaged research projects with our partners that I just named. And overall, we want to use this project to help build a community of people across UCI campus and beyond that is centered around climate justice. And so over on the right are some of the kind of transformations we'd like to see. I won't read through all of these, but some of these, are things that we'll specifically be focusing on and training fellows in throughout this program and giving hands-on experience in. So culturally aware culture, moving away from extractive types of research to more collaborative and regenerative, moving beyond our siloed disciplines to do transdisciplinary work, and moving from theoretical or basic research into more community-based and applied research that addresses questions of societal importance. Okay, so the main objectives of the program are to train and empower post-bac and PhD students, especially those from historically marginalized communities, to pursue graduate education and careers related to climate change, to increase participation of scientists from traditional STEM disciplines in environmental justice and community engaged research, to build cross-disciplinary collaborations between geoscientists and experts from other fields, such as social sciences, to develop equitable partnerships with community-based organizations, and then to transform the culture of the field by building this learning ecosystem that spans institutional, disciplinary, and hierarchical boundaries. Okay, so that's sort of a broad overview of kind of the outcomes we're hoping to see with this project. So now I'll describe some details about the fellowships, which is probably why most of you are here. So we're currently recruiting, I'll talk about the postbac first. We're currently recruiting 6 postbac fellows. Deadline for applying is May 31st. The fellows will be hired as junior specialists, which is a job title at UCI, for a 1-year full-time appointment. The salary scale can be seen at a link here. And the goal is that we're going to have a September 1st start date for all the fellows. The position will involve being matched with faculty mentors, depending on the individual's interests and career goals, as well as experience. And I'll say a little bit more about that in a while here. And then the application process, because it is going to be an employee, you're going to be a full-time UCI employee, you apply through UCI Recruit. So the link is here. And I think Savannah's going to throw some of these links in the chat for those who don't have them handy. So who's eligible? So if you completed a BS or a BA degree at any institution, either this year or last year, in a relevant field. So a relevant field would be pretty much anything that deals with climate change and environmental justice, which is many different disciplines here at UCI at least. So geoscience, environmental science, of course, but also things like urban planning, public health, anthropology, and even potentially humanities. So the other requirement is that you are interested in pursuing a career or graduate studies related to climate change and environmental justice, and you have interest in collaborating with BIPOC-led and BIPOC-serving community-based organizations on community-based research. Because that's what you'll be doing in this project. We want to make sure that's something that you're genuinely interested in. What is involved? So the postbacs, because there'll be a 40-hour per week schedule, about half that time, 20 hours per week, is expected to be spent working with research in labs with faculty mentors. And that will be providing some hands-on research experience, hopefully some technical training. And then the other 20 hours a week will be spent on completing the program curriculum, which we'll talk through in a minute here, and attending other climate justice related events. The PhD fellowship we're currently recruiting 8 PhD student fellows, also with the May 31st deadline. The fellowship will include 1 full year of funding at $38,000 per year. And the application for this is only open to current or newly admitted, so incoming for fall 23 UCI PhD students in any discipline, again, with interest in climate change and environmental justice. The application form for this is a Google form that you can find at the link here. And then we also want people who are interested in collaborating with BIPOC-led and serving community organizations on research. So what is involved at a basic level, and I'll go through the more specific requirements next or soon, but the fellows must complete the climate justice program requirements, as well as requirements for their degree. So we cannot waive any individual degree program. So you'll already be in a PhD program, but we can work to try and align these as much as possible. For example, by trying to work trying to make sure that some of the classes can potentially count as graduate electives, for example, for your degree requirements. And then fellows can expect to spend about 15 to 20 hours per week in the first year on completing the program curriculum, which is the most intensive part of the training program. And that is including working on team-based, community-based research projects, or CBR, and attending events. Year 2, for the PhD fellows, we want to keep people engaged in the community, so there will be approximately weekly seminars or other events, which will be kind of decided and clarified over the coming year. So I also want to say that the Climate Justice Initiative strives to foster an inclusive and collaborative working environment that welcomes diverse perspectives and backgrounds and life experiences. And so we are strongly encouraging applications for members of historically marginalized communities. For the postbac fellowships, we're encouraging applications from those who graduated from minority serving institutions, HBCUs, tribal colleges and universities. And I should note that UCI is also an MSI. So that definitely is something we are hoping to see some student applicants from UCI as well, which I'm sure a lot of people here are probably UCI students. Okay, so just to give a broad overview of the curriculum and what you could expect if you get awarded this fellowship. This is kind of a map for the first year, for showing next year, year one, which will be the first year of the PhD fellowship and the entire kind of program for the postbacs who will only be here for 1 year. The fall, there's going to be one 4-credit course on communication skills that's taught by Steve Allison. And there's also going to be a 4-credit course in the winter quarter, which is going to be a graduate level environmental injustice course. I should note that the postbac fellows, because you won't actually be UCI students, you will not be officially enrolled in these, but you will be auditing them or sitting in on them. And then in addition, there is a series of 2-credit workshops that will be held throughout every quarter. And these are being led and coordinated by the Research Justice Shop at UCI. And these are currently scheduled for, they're going to be held on Wednesdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. For the whole year. And then we are expecting that there will be a field course of some sort happening next summer where we're actually going out to visit, and there may be additional field trips throughout the year as well. And then throughout this whole first year, there'll be collaboration in team-based projects that are community-based research activities, and I'll say a little bit more about that in a minute. So if you are a PhD fellow, we are hoping that you will stick around for the second year and be part of the climate justice learning community. So that might involve just enrolling in like a 1-credit seminar. So the time commitment will be really heavily weighted for the first year. In addition to this kind of overview, there are going to be monthly professional development workshops, seminars, invited speakers, and field trips. So probably like additional one or 2 events monthly in addition to this. And then in terms of the program requirements, this is provisional, so it may change before the fall, but it'll be finalized before the fellowship begins. And in order to receive a certificate in climate justice, you will need to complete all these requirements. So for all fellows, there's going to be a required orientation meeting in the fall, which will be a full-day meeting, which will also include seeing the project presentations from the prior year of Research Justice Shop fellows this year. And then in future years, it will just be kind of the fellows from the previous year will be presenting to the new fellows. There'll be a required course, Field Safety 201, which is, this is just a 1-day workshop, preventing and managing discrimination, sexual harassment, and sexual violence in the field. And then there's going to be the courses I mentioned, the communication skills course, the environmental injustice course in the winter, the 3 workshops, which are going to be listed as an ESS 280 topics in Earth System Science course. And there is a requirement to complete a community-based research team science project, the results of which must be presented at the annual symposium and will involve at least quarterly meetings with the community-based organization partners. You will also be expected to attend approximately monthly additional workshops for professional development or seminars, et cetera, and complete the field course next summer. And then for the postbac fellows, as I mentioned already, because you're full-time employees, the other 20 hours per week of your time will be spent working in a lab, in a research group with a faculty mentor. The PhD fellows, of course, will also be doing their own research, which may or may not align very well with what you'll be doing for the community-based research projects. In year 2, the PhD fellows will have to attend the fall orientation again and enroll in a weekly, probably 1 hour per week seminar event. And there will be options, which hopefully, you know, part of the goal of this project is to actually encourage and help support some of these things to happen organically. but we're hoping that some of the fellows at least will want to continue on their research project or move on to expand upon it or co-design new projects. And also stay on as a mentor to incoming PhD or postbac fellows who will be entering the program in future years. I know there's a lot of questions about the community-based research project part of this. And so I wanted to clarify that you're not going to be expected to come in and design your own project. Unfortunately, we think that that is too much to ask for a one-year fellowship when we are trying to teach principles of building relationships and how to go about kind of co-designing research projects. So towards that end, the PIs and Connie McGuire and I are working with our community partners already to co-design several different possible projects that meet the needs of the community partners. And the plan is that the incoming fellows will be working in teams and be matched with these projects based on the interests and expertise of the fellows and the needs of the community partners. And so these teams are going to be consisting of one postbac, most likely, and 2 to 3 PhD students. And those broad project descriptions will be hopefully available sometime early in the summer before anyone needs to commit. So the matching process can happen pretty early on. And then this model ensures that we're addressing the needs of our partners and not overwhelming them with a bunch of people wanting to try and brainstorm about new projects. So the fellows in year one can expect to spend approximately 5 hours per week collaborating independently with these partners. So that's on top of the kind of coursework and formal scheduled time on those Wednesday seminars. And then in year two, we'll have a new cohort of postbac fellows starting each year, and the PhD fellows can stick around and continue or expand on those projects if they would like, but that won't be required. And then I mentioned professional development. Another part of this is really workforce development and helping prepare fellows for a range of career paths, depending on what their interests are. It can be preparation for applying to graduate school for the postbacs, or it can be, preparation for going into jobs in the public or private sector. For graduate students as well, we hope to provide training opportunities for academic and non-academic jobs. So career workshops and things will include things like CV, resume preparation, interviewing and negotiation skills, writing statements for academic job searches, career panels where we're bringing people in from different agencies or private sector companies who are focused around climate and environmental issues. So that we're hoping to actually provide like direct connections to meet and interact with potential employers. And then other topics will be time management, work-life balance, mentorship, and how to go about developing a network of mentors and making the most of that network, issues around bystander intervention or disrupting bias, mental health and wellness focused workshops, and more. So those are all sort of just the laundry list of things that we hope to cover in some of those. And a lot of those are going to be open to like other students at UCI as well. And then the additional benefits that the program can offer is that, fellows may have the option to participate in optional courses or workshops while you're here. And that can include things like the diversity in STEM seminar class that we teach in ESS every year, which is just a 1 hour a week seminar, or it can include skills-based courses, for example, GIS courses or workshops, or data science and modeling or coding-based courses. There also are a wide range. For those of you who are at UCI, you know this already, but UCI has a huge number of other workshops and things where you can earn certificates, for example, in mentoring excellence or inclusive pedagogy, things like that. So also, fellows will be able to apply for up to $2,000 in research funds to support the community-based research project needs. And also we have funding to send fellows to conferences. So there'll be a process to apply for funding to attend conferences such as SACNAS, AGU, ESA, ACES is the American Indian Science and Engineering Society meeting, NABG is the National Association of Black Geoscientists. And there are likely going to be some conferences that a group of us travel to together. So just for now, for example, I'm thinking that several of our first year cohort fellows will be able to be funded to go to either SACNAS or AGU in the fall. Okay, so FAQs. So I'm just going to go through these because I've gotten a lot of emails with several of these questions, and hopefully this will answer some of the questions you have, and then we'll open it up for other questions. So can I apply for the postbac fellowship if I graduated before 2022? So I've been telling people yes, but that we are going to prioritize the more recent graduates. So whether it's worth applying or not, we don't really know how many people will apply and what those applications will look like, but we can consider it. But I would say you're more likely to be successful if you've graduated in the last 2 years. Can I apply for the postbac fellowship if I have a master's degree? No, unfortunately, that is not possible. Can international students apply? Maybe. This is something I'm still trying to figure out. I think for the postbacs is going to be quite hard if there's visa requirements that need to be applied. But for the PhD fellowships, I think the best thing is to reach out to us and ask and let us know about your individual situation. Another question we've had is, what if I don't need the funding? If you have a fellowship, another fellowship or other source of funding, that's great. Please apply anyway. And I added a question to the application where you can note any of this, or you can ask your advisor to write about it in their letter that they send, and or email me, and that will allow us to potentially admit more fellows than what we have funding for. Another question, I've already completed the Research Justice Shop workshops and or have been an RJS fellow. Do I need to do this part again? Yes, unfortunately, this is a core part of our curriculum, and it's going to be, the workshops are going to be adapted for this program a bit, so they'll be different in some ways, and they also are going to provide a key time when you're all together working within the cohorts and building community. I'm already conducting my PhD research with a community partner. Can this be the focus of my research project? No, unfortunately, unless it happens to be with one of the partners that we're already working with, and then we can discuss it. But all fellows will need to work on projects with one of our existing funded partners. So those 4 organizations that I mentioned are the ones that we're developing projects with. Will my community-based research project need to be closely related to my dissertation research? Not necessarily, no. But it can potentially be. So the hope is that some of these projects will align well with the research that you're doing for your PhD, but it may be that it doesn't, and that's fine. Part of the experience is training you how to do this type of research that hopefully will then enable you to, do this on your own in the future. Who will be my faculty research mentor for the postbac program? So accepted postbac fellows, once we select the fellows, you'll be surveyed about interests, skills, career goals, and then matched with faculty mentors. Note that most faculty mentors are going to want to have a chance to chat with you before they commit to taking you on in their lab for 20 hours a week. So that will probably be a separate process that happens sometime in June. And you can request specific faculty mentors in your application. You could write about it in one of your essays or after acceptance, but we can't guarantee placement in specific labs. And then again, just to end kind of with a broader vision of how these fellowships are going to tie together with the UCI learning ecosystem centered around climate justice. The hope is that, we have a lot of collaborations happening between the community partners, between the UCI faculty, the postbac and the PhD fellows, our other partners within UCI, so different organizations and centers and faculty working on climate justice related issues. And there's also going to be 2 postdoctoral fellows funded by this program who will be working really closely with all of you who are accepted into the program. And then we'll hopefully build this amazing learning community where we strengthen kind of the presence of environmental justice in climate research here. So that's sort of the longer term vision. And with that, I will stop and take questions, and feel free to chime in, any of the other PIs or Connie who are here. So you can type questions in the chat or raise your hand. Let me see. Maybe I'll just stop sharing so I can see people.
Kathleen, we have a couple in the chat already.
Let's see. Okay, so let's see. If you have core classes as a PhD student that conflict with the class times in year 1, could you take them in year 2? So that is a good question. I think we recognize we'll have to have a little bit of flexibility on this as we're letting in people from a range of programs. So ideally, we're going to schedule things around so they don't conflict. I know for sure they won't conflict with ESS courses, but for other departments, we can't really guarantee that. So I think the communications class and the environmental injustice class, most likely it's pretty important to take those in the first year. So I guess one of the things I would recommend is if you find out that that's really not going to work out for you next year, it might be worth delaying a year and applying the following year if you're early enough in your PhD. Because I think it's going to be a little hard. I don't know if anyone thinks otherwise. Okay, our PhD fellows funded for 1 or 2 years. The PhD fellows will receive 1 year of funding, but the requirements, and that can be spread out. For example, if it works better to receive the funding in your 2nd year of the program, or partial funding for different quarters, depending on if you have to TA or something else, then we can be flexible with that, but the total amount will be 1 year. Are there any selection criteria? So I think basically what we stated in the, we will be using a rubric to evaluate. I can say we haven't finalized that yet, but it will be evaluating you on things like, interests in climate change and environmental justice. We'll be trying to recruit students from a range of fields so that we have lots of complementary expertise in the group. We will be prioritizing people who have not had the chance to get a lot of research experience during their undergraduate career. That if you don't feel like you have a lot of research experience, that's fine. For the postbac fellowship, that's part of what we're hoping to provide. And yeah, I think other than that, we'll be looking at things like, prior and current contributions to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So that's volunteering, outreach activities. We'll be looking at leadership and service activities, but we will be taking a holistic approach to reviewing these applications. If we've taken some of these mandatory courses earlier, can the requirement be waived? I think that is a question probably for the 2 instructors of those courses, which will be Steve Allison and Kim Fortune. And so I think that is something you might want to send an email to us about, unless you want to chime in about your course, Kim.
Yeah, I can say a bit. The course is going to be similar to an undergraduate course I've taught for many years, but it will be substantially redesigned to mesh with the goals of this program, focusing more specifically on climate justice than environmental justice writ large. So, I mean, I'm happy to be in touch with students, but I hope to design it so that it's really in step with the specific group of students that we have, including ones that I may have had the opportunity to teach before.
Thank you. Yeah, that's helpful. And I think the only one that is most likely going to be possible for, I'd say, would probably be the communication skills class if you've done that already. Although again, some of the content of that is going to be tailored to this. So yeah, I'd reach out to Steve Allison about that. And we have to develop a formal policy about that clearly, but because this is just starting, we don't have everything figured out yet. Okay. So I will repeat the required courses, but actually I will send you all a copy of the slides and the recording of this afterwards, so you can check that again to see the required courses. So it's just the 2 hours per week research session workshops every Wednesday, 10 to 12 a.m. And then fall quarter, there'll be the communication skills class, which I don't know the time that's scheduled, unfortunately. And the environmental justice class in the winter that Professor Fortune will be teaching will be, the time for that is also going to be decided, and we're going to try and work it around to avoid as many conflicts as possible. Can I be involved in the workshops even though I don't think I qualify because I have a master's degree? Connie, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. So the workshops themselves, which are once a month, are open. They're open to the campus. So all graduate students. They're geared towards graduate students. Actually, anyone's invited to come. So yes, definitely, you can do the workshop series, the once a month workshop series, and then fellows will have additional meetings on some of the other Wednesdays each quarter, just to make sense of that calendar-wise. But the workshops are once a month, and everyone's welcome.
Great. Who are the associated faculty research projects could be provided with the potential advisors prior to the application closing? So the potential advisors are anybody on campus, honestly. So if you have specific people in mind, you can talk to them. But I think we have a database of faculty that are specifically trying to recruit for this program. And we are hoping to get some of that up on the website before the end of the month, but I can't guarantee because we're just building that website. But I would say pretty much any professor in earth system science is possible, but also outside of ESS, anyone who's working on climate or environmental justice related research, which is a lot of people on campus, could be potential advisors. I will say that for the faculty mentors, we're trying to prioritize faculty who have a strong track record of supporting inclusive excellence activities and also have some formal mentorship training. Okay. Oh yes, Connie shared a link to the current RJS fellows and the blogs about their projects. So some of the projects will be somewhat similar and others will be different. The only thing that's needed in addition to the Google form is having your advisor send a letter by the deadline. This is mainly to show that if for PhD fellows, it's mainly to show that your advisor is supportive of you participating in this program. So there's a question about housing. So for the post-bac fellowships, unfortunately, because you're not going to be students, I'm not sure that housing is going to be a possibility. What we will do is try to put together a list of resources for fellows who might be moving to the area. I also will say that I am in the conversation with our housing to see if there might be possibilities to get some space in the graduate student housing, which seems like it is not outside the realm of possibility, but we don't know for sure yet. The workshops, oh, can you put the link in? Okay, great. So Priyanka, I see your hand up there for a while, sorry. Did you have a question, Priyanka? Oh, maybe that. Anyone else have other questions? Anyone else want to add anything? Elizabeth, Kim?
No, I think you've done a fantastic job of doing an overview. Oh, Reem has a question.
Hi, Reem.
I just had a really quick question. Are applications being reviewed on a rolling basis, or will they all be reviewed at the end of May?
They'll all be reviewed at the end of May. I should note though that this funding is for 5 years. So we're going to be recruiting every year for the next, although for you, this will be the last opportunity to apply for this year.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, Melissa, I see Melissa. And then Savannah.
Hey. Hi, I'm a PhD student, and I was wondering if the fellowship is also covering tuition. So I know the fellowship pays for graduate students, but I was also wondering about the tuition situation, because that's one of the issues sometimes that we have to deal with. I'm not in the sciences, so that's why I'm curious.
Yeah, thank you. It does. It covers tuition and fees as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Forgot to mention that. And Savannah?
Hi, yeah, so earlier you had mentioned that for selection criteria, that you were looking for fellows that maybe didn't have as much research experience. Like, how much would you consider like a lot of research experience to be?
So that's a good question. I'd say more than like multiple years of working in the lab, for example, because we're trying to provide opportunity to students who maybe didn't have that opportunity during undergrad because they were having to work a lot or had other responsibilities that prevented them from being able to do research. So yeah, I would still apply if you feel like you have a lot, but just know that that's one of the criteria.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Kande?
Yes, thank you for the explanations. I had a question regarding the community-based project. Are these projects meant to be for the year that we participate in, or they just transcend our period there and we're just like walking through this project and then the project continues?
That is a good question. I'm going to let Connie answer that, I think.
Yeah, awesome question. So yeah, so it kind of depends. The way that it's designed is that if it's designed that it can be 1 year and you can wrap up. We support the fellows through the 1 year process, and there's a wrap up at the end where they would actually hand off kind of their relationship with their community partner to the incoming fellows. And the idea is this helps the organization have continuity, right? In terms of having to spend less time sort of training the fellow around what their organization is, because you as an outgoing fellow get to teach the incoming fellow about that, right? And there's also the opportunity for particular fellows, like they may have an interest in continuing, have time to continue. It may turn into a paper they want to write, collaborate on with the community partner. It might turn into their dissertation project, right? So it's open for continuing longer, but it's designed to be able to end in 1 year, and closure and ending of projects is part of the learning in the year, right? Around how to close projects down. Yeah, that answer?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Vanessa.
Hi, I came a bit late, so are the projects already decided with the community fellows, or would the fellows be creating the projects themselves? So
yeah, we are in the process because we don't want to overwhelm our community partners with 12 to 14 fellows all wanting to start projects with them at the same time. We are co-developing the project ideas now. So they're kind of loose project descriptions. And then we're going to match the fellows with those projects. So, but for you as an incoming PhD student, I think there will be lots of potential to build and develop new projects throughout the year to potentially continue. Vanessa's joining me in my group in the fall. Good to see you.
Yeah, hi.
Savannah?
Yeah, I have a question kind of going off of Conde's. If you want to continue the project past the first year, but it's not like the climate justice EJ stuff is not really related to like what your advisor can fund, how would that work? Is there a way to like apply for like substitute funding, whether it be through this grant or somewhere else to like continue doing that kind of work, or would it just kind of just be like something on the side that you're not really funded to do?
Right. So I think this gets at some of the questions that have come up around like what's academic work and what's like GSR work, right? So if there's a way that it fits into your academic kind of research, then I think that doesn't necessarily need to be, what you're funded to work on, as long as you're doing the funded part as well. So yeah, in that case, it would be thought of as probably extra, but we can definitely help brainstorm about like other potential funding sources for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Momo?
Hi, I'm an international student, and you said that it would be difficult for to be admitted to the post-bac program. What are the chances that I could still participate, or should I be looking at different opportunities?
For the post-bac program, can you send me an email? I'll put my email in the chat because I think if people don't have it, because I don't want to give the wrong answer because I'm not sure what's possible.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
And then I see a question about how to differentiate applicants with lesser research experience. The application does not ask for our CVs or statements. Did we not have a CV question on there? We were supposed to. I thought.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, we can add that. But yeah, we do want to.
Should be one.
Yeah, sorry.
Is that on the PhD or on the post?
That would be the PhD because that's the Google form one.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'll look into that.
Oh, there is a question to upload a CV, but I will also say the research experience question is only going to be a criteria for postbac fellows. I forgot to clarify that. So you're all PhD students we expect are going to have research experience already. Okay, great. And for those that are asking about the recording, if you registered for the Zoom meeting, we're gonna send an email out to everybody who registered with a link to the recording and to the slides. And feel free to share it. Christopher, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have just one more question. So you did mention that having an MSc would be a disqualification for applicants. So does that apply to just the postbac or also to the PhD students?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite get that question.
Okay, yeah, sorry. I have to be more audible. You did say that having an MSc would be a disqualification. Yeah, so does that apply to just the postbac or also the PhD students?
Right, so just for the postbac program. So if you're a PhD student at UCI or you got admitted for next year, then and have a master's, that's fine. The other thing, like hopefully in future years that we're hoping is if people know that this program exists, it can hopefully help, encourage people to apply to UCI for PhDs so that they can participate in this program. All right, any other questions? Okay, well, if there are no other questions, I think we can wrap up. Thanks so much everyone for coming and yeah, feel free to email me if something else comes up. we are very excited to see everyone's applications as well. So yeah, just let us know if you have any other questions. And I will also add that we are hoping to notify the fellowship recipients within pretty quickly. So by the end of June, and ideally sooner. All right, thanks everyone.